Hey there guys, and welcome to another episode of the Smashing Crossbar Podcast. I'm your host once again, Josh, joined by Benno as always. How you going, mate?
I'm not too bad, mate. How are you holding up?
Oh mate, what a hectic week it was last week. Chaos, friggin' wifey in hospital, friggin' $1,500 later at the vet for the dog. Absolute chaos. Thanks for holding up your thought.
That's right, mate. I hope I lived up to your your professional standards.
Mate, absolutely done a cracking job with the boys, and obviously who we have on, the Stephen Lustica.
Yeah, Stephen Lustica and the boys from the All Out West podcast.
Absolutely, yeah. No, thanks to those guys. Obviously, before we go any further, big shout out to Gabriel Mar, optometrist at Jesmond. Please go see those guys for all your eye care needs. It is greatly appreciated, and we do thank them for everything they do for the podcast.
Lockie Mar, get your exclamation mark specs in the chat.
Absolutely. Exclamation mark specs, which I'm wearing right now. Blue light glasses, courtesy of obviously Gabriel Mar. They are doing wonders, obviously, for my eyes on the screen. So, cheers for that.
I'll get my test and I'll get my set.
So, pretty much on tonight's show, guys, we are lucky enough to be joined by Daniel Garb, former Fox Sports. He's pretty much covered everything you can think of, down to the Ashes and bloody obviously football in general, the Premier League, obviously over in England, pretty much everything. So how are you, mate?
Good, boys. Thanks for having me on. I'm just fascinated our two Newcastle Jets fans have landed up in Victoria. What's the deal there?
Mate, I'm a born and bred Novocastrian. Friggin' love the Jets and obviously everything they stand for. And obviously I moved down here about 8 years ago and met my wonderful wife, so that's why I'm still here. And Ben somewhat didn't really have a side at the time. He had a victory jacket and he'd been to a few games, so I figured easy convert here. We'll convert him straight over to a Jets fan, and he's been that ever since. So born and bred.
Well, that explains it. Good on you for staying loyal to your hometown club, at least, boys.
Nah, absolutely, mate, absolutely. Well, obviously the same for you, mate. You're a Perth boy through and through, I'm sure.
I am. I'm a Perth boy, born in South Africa, but bred in Perth. So I always loved football, obviously, the Premier League and football abroad, but got into the local scene as well. And when the Glory emerged in 1996, well, I was hooked pretty much straight away. And went a lot in the NSL days, and you get a bit more removed from it in terms of a fan as you step into the media and so on. You just become so invested in the game as a whole. But I certainly look out for their results and have a stronger affinity to the Glory than any other club, and that will never change.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I believe you're a West Coast, massive West Coast fan too in the AFL.
I am a big Eagles fan. I love them since I was young, and do love Aussie rules footy as well, along with many other sports. I'm currently panicking my way through a fantasy football preliminary final, which is worth a lot of money. So I'm fully invested in this, boys, but I've got one eye on the scoreboard as well.
Mate, got it.
My boys tick along okay.
Absolutely, it's all about the dosh. Speaking
of
Perth,
football. Football's always the winner.
Absolutely.
Oh wait, can we say that on our podcast?
Absolutely, we can. Football is the number one, not AFL.
I can't do it in my best Jimmy Bullard accent though.
Actually, speaking of friggin' Perth, I've been speaking to Jamie Harnwell, and we should have him on the next couple of weeks. A true Perth Glory, tragic, I suppose. He's been there forever, and
heart and soul.
Yeah, 200 plus games, give or take. That's without me even really looking at it, but it's got to be over 200 plus. He was there for ages. Pretty much a one boy club. So, but yeah, no. Well, as I said, guys in the chat, if you've got any questions and so forth, please whack them in there. Football related, obviously from England to the A League. It's good to have a Liverpool fan on here as well. That's great. Something I don't really get all that often.
Oh, Lukey boy in the chat won't be happy.
No, it's all right, mate. It's all right. United fans, it's our time. It's our time. They had their time under Fergie, so we'll enjoy the time while we've still got it. So, obviously, as I said, mate, you're a diehard Liverpool fan. How did you celebrate the victory?
Oh, well, there wasn't really, unfortunately, a way that we could celebrate it because we couldn't gather with the Liverpool fans over here, and pretty much restrictions had sort of eased in Sydney, I think, but you couldn't exactly go out and have a big gathering or anything like that at that stage. So just enjoyed it at home, and we sort of spread out over the day that we won the league, and then the day we got to lift the trophy as well. So it was spread out over those two events. So enjoyed them both and got a bit emotional about it all. But I was also there the year before when we won the Champions League and got to enjoy that in Liverpool with the fans and be part of the parade and so on. So I can't complain at all about not having a proper celebration for this.
Bloody hell! What a lifetime that'd be. What an amazing moment. Obviously, as far as again, we sit here biased. Obviously, some of the best fans I think in the world. For me, obviously not being there, 94,000 at the MCG when we played Victory, for me that was intense. It was just such a massive feeling. Obviously, goosebumps when they played You Never Walk Alone, and obviously then I think it was a couple of years later we travelled to Brisbane and Adelaide to watch them, obviously on a little bit of a road trip, I suppose, which was pretty impressive. But what a season, mate! What a season. Henderson, the miracle, the bloke that copped so much shit and so much crap off everybody. 16 million. I think it was £16 million roughly. I think it was. We picked him up, and everyone was thinking it was way too much. And he finally gets something that unfortunately Steven Gerrard never did. So, what are your thoughts, mate, on Henderson? Is he one of the best?
One of the best in what way? I mean, he's not one of the best players.
Well, one of the best, obviously. I suppose it's hard. I suppose you're right. One of the best, obviously. At Liverpool, we'll say. Obviously, again, he's the captain. Obviously, he's been there forever now.
In a leadership capacity.
Yeah,
in a leadership comparison. Yeah,
he's no doubt he's one of the best leaders the club's ever had. I mean, what he's done is incredible. The way in which he rose through all the abuse that he copped, which I remember going to his debut, and he was played out on the right-hand side, which is not his natural position, and he was given some leeway in his first season or so, but there was still a lot of question marks. Is this guy worth £60 million? Is he a proper right winger? And eventually they worked him into the midfield, and he did some pretty good things, but he also copped a bit. And eventually he won over the fans. But a lot of other players would have succumbed to that criticism, not only from the fans for not being good enough, but then from many others who said he's not well equipped to captain Liverpool because he's not Steven Gerrard, which is just a ridiculous slur that he had to cop. And the mental strength that he's shown personally has been amazing, but then also to basically lead the team amid all of that. I'm not sure how many other players or sports people would have been able to do that. I'm really not. I just don't think there would have been many that would have got through it. So an amazing leader, and something like that just lifts everyone around. It just does. It gives everyone such a big sense of belief, I think. And then he's a damn good player as well. I mean, he should not be degraded in that way. He's a fantastic footballer. And some of the crap he copped, from England fans as well, is just being rubbish and being shite, and all the social media stuff, just easy little tags that people chuck around, just rubbish. And, I just admired him enormously. I've always thought he was a very good footballer on the field, but as a leader, just fantastic. And, he's just simply one of the best captains Liverpool's ever had already, and hopefully he's got a bit more to win.
I think it's very much the fact of... it was a masterstroke to sell Lucas Leiva at the time that they did, because I don't think without that, he would have come into his own in that defensive midfield role.
Sure.
No, and he can play that role. He can play as the number 8, box to box, and he's also very good around the box. He's not just a defensive player. That's why Liverpool signed him. I remember reading that when they signed him, they did a lot of statistical research, and the chances he created in the final third of the pitch were as high as any other young midfielder in the Premier League during his time at Sunderland. So whenever he gets the ball in that area, he makes something happen, whether it's a shot or a little pass. So wherever you play him in the midfield, he's an asset. And I love watching him in the Liverpool team. And for me, he's always in that first choice midfield 3, as hard as it is for Klopp to pick, because he's got so many options there.
Yeah, I suppose obviously that's the good thing at the moment. We're just spoilt for option. There's so much depth in the squad. Obviously, we let blokes like Lallana.
Depth in a squad, that would be nice.
Mate, unfortunately down to the championship, you can't have everything.
Hey, we won against playoff hopefuls in our first game. I'll take that, considering we nearly got relegated last season.
Yeah, obviously Benno's a diehard Birmingham fan.
Okay.
What's the claim, Benno? Was it you played in Europe from the
Carling
championship?
Cup versus Arsenal. Yeah, we're one of the only English teams to be able to play in a European competition whilst being in the championship.
No, you take it. I suppose you take it.
It's the little wings. It's the little wings.
The little wins. Obviously, what were your thoughts? Obviously, on the season, mate. Do you think, I suppose Klopp as a coach, he's phenomenal. What he's done since he's been there. Hopefully, he hangs around for a couple more years. But again, obviously, I think the best thing that of watching the season out was obviously the fact that there was no real individual, standout. The whole team sort of come together. It's why obviously I think we are succeeding at the way we are. Obviously, they just gel like nothing else. As I said, the depth is so strong. You take someone out, you bring someone in, and then nothing really changes a great deal. What did you think of the season as a whole?
I mean, remarkable, obviously. I mean, the drought-breaking season, 30 years, and to win it by 18 points is just an extraordinary achievement. It's only lose one game before they won the title.
Yeah.
I mean, people sometimes lose perspective on just how ridiculous that is. There have been plenty of title-winning sides who have lost, closer to 10 games and gone on to win the title. Liverpool the season before only lost one game and still didn't win it. What this team has done is just mind-boggling, and that's why it annoys me so much when fans complain about transfer dealings and things like that. I'm like, look what this team's achieved, the Champions League into a Premier League. Just have faith that they know what they're doing. And how on earth can you abuse them after what we've been given in the last couple of years? So, yeah, just incredible. And the mentality for me is just the most remarkable thing. I mean, seeing a Liverpool team do what Manchester United used to do for so many years, which is always find a way to score late in games. It's just such a great sign of belief and composure in a team that 1-1 or 1-0 down, 80th minute, they just know they'll be able to create a couple more chances and they'll back themselves to put one away and get that crucial goal. And, it's just a sign of a team that is in complete control of everything, because, United had that and won everything for years as a result, and Liverpool's got it now. And again, we saw it in the opening game against Leeds. All right, it's a shocking challenge, but they've created that opportunity late when the game's level and then taken it. So, and that's one of the most impressive aspects for mine, because that's just the hallmark of a side that is all conquering.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. Opening game, what a game. You know what I mean? Obviously, there was definitely some mistakes, but at the same time, you can't take anything away from Leeds. As I was talking to a good mate of mine who's a massive Leeds fan, and he was like, we'll get beat, but it's all right. And I said, mate, if anything, you guys and probably who else come up? I think it was West Brom.
And Fulham.
And Fulham, you those three guys teams are the teams you don't want to be playing at the start, because they're coming on so much momentum, and obviously they're
teams.
Yeah, they're still on a high and everything else, and obviously Leeds proved that, because they played unbelievable football, and again we were lucky enough to come away with it, which is fantastic. But again, they're going to be hard to stop, at least in the next 6 to 7 weeks, I think.
And a top tier coach at the helm too.
Yeah, that makes a big difference. That's a crucial part of it, is when you've got someone like that who can just set you up the same way in which the best managers in the world do. He doesn't have the same talent at his disposal, but they just know that they are well equipped to match it with the best Premier League teams, like a Liverpool, because they've got a manager who's been there and done it all before. And that gives a squad so much confidence and belief. So, they'll be great to watch. They'll be entertaining. It's a long season. Without the squad depth, I'm not as bullish as them being, guaranteed mid-table as some, but it would not surprise me at all if they push that high.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. Hopefully they do better than Norwich did, because I think like the start of last season, Norwich come out and obviously Pookie was on dominant, he was on fire and everything, and I was like, holy shit, yeah, here we go, Norwich might do something, and then unfortunately just the wheels fell off and the depth wasn't there, and the squad obviously, and it didn't obviously last that long, but hopefully Leeds can obviously do something about it, because they deserve to stay up. I think Leeds are definitely a side that need to be in the Premier League. Let's be honest, they produced some of the best Aussies. They've had some of the best Australian, obviously, players play at the club, your Vidukas and obviously your Harry Kewells, to name a couple, obviously. But yeah, we'll talk a bit about, obviously, again, chat, sorry, I'll get through to some of the questions, obviously, as we go through. There's a few in there, obviously, about the A League and stuff, which we'll leave sort of to the end.
Yeah, it's full of shushes at the moment, because I was telling the daughter to shush because she comes barging in here.
That's how relaxed and how laid back the podcast is, mate. Just straight out of one of the rooms.
It's not mine, it's yours.
Thanks. What I was going to say, so yeah, we'll talk a bit about obviously your time at Fox Sports. Your time in England. I could only imagine. Me obviously as a massive fan of the Premier League, and obviously just watching obviously the interviews, staying up till God knows hours, and listening to some of the press conferences and obviously the interviews afterwards. It must have been a dream come true, mate.
Oh, it was incredible. Yeah, I mean, just something that I was in disbelief I was able to experience from the start, and something I never got tired of right until the end. I mean, I remember being as excited for my last few Premier League games as I was for my first few. It's just an awesome experience. So I was very lucky to do 5 Premier League seasons and a couple of World Cups and so much else, a couple of Ashes series and Commonwealth Games, Davis Cup, so many Socceroos games all around the world in crazy places. Extremely fortunate. It was just an absolute dream the whole way through. So very, very lucky, and memories to last a lifetime.
It's going to be the best job in the world. You get to travel, and you get to watch football, and you don't have to pay, and you're getting paid to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure there was a better job in the world for 5 years if you're an Australian sports fan than the one I had. I don't make any arguments with that whatsoever. So it was pretty amazing. So I was very fortunate. But let me tell you, while I received those messages a lot, best job in the world and all that, and people saying I'm so jealous, I appreciated every moment. I never took it for granted. Correct, so hopefully that allows people to understand where I'm coming from on it. And
let's be honest, it wasn't given to you. You worked your ass off, obviously, to get where you were, to get the opportunity to go in those places as well. It wasn't. So we'll talk about England. Obviously, five seasons. Some of the best seasons, obviously, as well. I'm guessing you were there for the Aguero moment with City. Final game, obviously, Leicester as well. The magic from 501 to 1 or whatever it was to win the title and so forth. What are some of your memorable moments, obviously, every time over there?
Yeah, well, 5 of my seasons, 3 of the most iconic moments in Premier League history I was lucky enough to be there for. The Aguero goal, that was in my first season there, and that's just, you're sitting there in disbelief that this was actually unfolding in terms of a sporting occasion before your eyes. Just absolutely remarkable, and that winning goal and celebrations afterwards, just absolutely insane. And the game before at the Etihad, when City beat United to leapfrog them into first position, in a derby game to do that, wow. That was a ridiculous game as well. So that season, and then a few seasons later, Liverpool's surge for their first title, which obviously ended in on-field tragedy from Steven Gerrard's point of view, with the slip that will be remembered forever. But just that whole season, that whole story. People often say to me, that must kill you as a Liverpool fan. And it hurts. But I've got great memories from that season as well. Liverpool smashing Arsenal 5-2, being 4-1 up inside 20 minutes, doing the double over United. Some of the other wins like against Tottenham and White Hart Lane, smashing them. The football that Suarez, Sturridge and Sterling played together. It was awesome. I got to see some Anfield rocking at its absolute best, and some great games from the team that I enjoy. And it didn't end well, but that's still an experience that I'll cherish that season. And then Leicester, which is just for me the greatest on-field sporting achievement we've ever seen in my mind.
I agree.
When winning the league, it's just something we'll never ever see again. So that's to be there for that all the way through the second half of the season, going to Leicester pretty much every week towards the end, just brilliant. And the celebrations when they won the title, being there for that, I'll speak about that for forever and a day.
It almost echoes the Leicester thing. A lot of people compare it to Blackburn's win in the early 90s, but they say that, and then my immediate response is, Blackburn went out and bought the previous year's top goal scorer of the English Premier League to be able to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Blackburn.
Where Leicester were relative, mid-table players at the very best.
Yeah, there's no comparison. There's just not. It shouldn't be mentioned in the same breath. What Leicester did was just Herculean and heroic. They were a team tipped for relegation that won the league. How does that happen? The Premier League's not designed for that.
No.
So, yeah, I mean, there's zero comparison, really, when it comes to that.
Again, it's good to see, obviously, as well, just the simple fact that money doesn't buy everything. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
obviously,
exactly. Well, more often than not, it does. That's what made it so brilliant.
Yeah,
correct.
So, yeah, every now and again, something crazy pops up like this, but more often than not, it does buy you success,
Well,
which is why their achievement is to be celebrated forever.
Absolutely. I'm sure Melbourne City, its time will come eventually. With the money. What are you crapping on about, Ben?
Oh, nothing. I was laughing at what you just mentioned, but also what Lockie's come into the chat with.
Oh, I did see that. We'll get this one because this ties in with what I was going to say next about interviews and some of the best interviews and that you've had. Lachlan Mars popped in with, was my interview in Brazil 2014 one of the best highlights of all your interviews?
So Lockie is speaking about, I think he was there with the Fanatics and the 2014 World Cup, and we basically went to a lot of their events, and there was a game they played. Mark Bosnich and Stan Lazaridis both played in it against a local Brazilian team, and all the Fanatics boys had a bit of a run, I think, and Lockie was involved. And to be honest, I was just so spellbound by his football quality that I just had to interview him during that game. I mean, it's just some of the most sumptuous football you've ever seen from an individual from Lockie Mar. So, yeah, he made it onto Fox Sports after that. Look, it's not in my top 275 interviews I've ever done, but maybe just outside of that.
Lockie's just fallen off the chair.
I was about to say, Carl, Laurie, are you hearing this? Get him off the stretcher bearer. Get him on the pitch.
Absolutely.
He's a good man, Lockie. Very nice young lad. Very nice boy.
Absolutely.
He's a good lad.
What a time. What a experience again, talking about experiences. But before we get into obviously a few World Cups and everything else, we'll go back to your interviews. I'm sure, the amount of interviews you've done, the stars, the footballers, the talent, I suppose, as well. What's some of the best interviews you've done? Obviously, we'll say, not obviously like your Mourinho's and sort of the people that can probably hit you with anything, if not sledge you. They're just those blokes that just you have no idea what's gonna come out of their mouth, and you go, shit, this could go either way here.
Yeah.
What are some of the best that you've done?
Yeah, I mean, I think that in terms of the big names, I mean, the Mourinho one, the Balotelli one, Wayne Rooney, Lampard, Van Persie, Van Gaal. There's so many, and I'm proud of all of them, to be honest. And they all went pretty well. So, yeah, they're all great memories and great experiences. The one that I'm probably proudest of is actually not a Premier League star. It's probably the interview I did with Holger Roschick after we got destroyed by France 6-0 in Paris, and he was sacked hours later. And that's a pretty daunting experience. Like, you'd have to be a pretty sick person in the head to actually enjoy interviewing someone about their job, which is likely going to go. It's not a good experience. And I'm sitting there, before the game, I remember thinking, okay, if they get done heavily here, he's going to be sacked, and I've got to do this interview after the game, and it's not going to be pleasant. So, to be honest, I was just hoping we lost like 2-0, and then the pressure's off a little bit. They'll cop that, and no damage will be done, and away he goes, and we can just do a normal interview, because it's not an enjoyable experience for anyone.
Yeah,
but
especially with a loss like that, when you sort of sit there, even as a fan, the writing's got to be on the wall.
Well, yeah, I mean, at halftime it's 4-0, so I'm like, all right, well, he's gone. He's not going to survive this. So I've got to, it's time as a journalist, you've got to assess the moment, you've got to get the moment spot on. But that was an obvious one where you've got to go him here pretty heavily about his job and about where this team is. So, I thought about my questions pretty carefully and built it up to, the big ones. Does the team have confidence in you? Do you accept that your job is now under scrutiny? And these sorts of questions. And Holger's was pretty stern in his responses. What I liked about him is, although he could give it to the media and be pretty tense, he always stood there, copped it, and was ready for the next question. He wasn't like some of the managers or players we see today who get a little bit sensitive and walk off or, don't answer the next question. He copped it, and it's like, all right, we'll bring on the next one. And basically at the end of the interview, he admitted that he wasn't sure if he had the faith of the players anymore, and that was a pretty strong giveaway. Made no difference. They'd already made the decision to sack him, of course. But that was one interview that stood out, because it was not an easy situation, and I think I did it pretty well, and thankfully Holger was willing to answer all the questions as well, so fair play to him. So, yeah, that's one that stands out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Balotelli would have been an interesting one. He's a special character. I'm sure he's got some brains these days. I'm sure he's grown up a little bit from what he was.
Well, the thing
back
about
then.
Balotelli is even then I was, pretty certain that his intelligence is there. That was obvious. But even spending 10 minutes with him doing an interview, the one thing I took away is that the maturity just wasn't there. I felt like I was talking to a teenager. Smart enough, but just, when you're a teenager, what were we like? You're a bit moody. You're a bit of a know-it-all. Just got a bit of a chip on your shoulder about things at times. And that's what my takeaway from my interview with him. He gave me some great answers, and I warmed him up, and we had a nice chat in the end, and he smiled, and we had some good grabs. But I just went, this guy's he just hasn't matured, and he may not by the time his career ends. And let's be honest, he hasn't hit the heights that he should have when you look at his talent. And that's the way I viewed him. He's just someone who just too late of a bloomer, and by the time he's ready to mature, his football career will be over.
Yeah, no, I'd 100% agree with that. Lockie's, Ben, you got Lockie's there?
Yeah, and that is, what does Garby think of the current Socceroos system in our youth? Who will replace Timmy in our next crop of strikers for the Socceroos?
Yeah, well, that's going to be one of the more interesting battles heading into Qatar 2022 and the next phase of qualifiers, because Arnie's got to probably settle on someone. It's easy in the first round where you're winning most of your games pretty comfortably to play a Jamie McLaren and play an Adam Taggart into form. But in the second phase of qualifiers, when things get tough and every point means so much to get to Qatar, you've really got to settle on your striker to get you those goals. But then, if you do make the World Cup, you need a scorer. So it's going to be a battle between those two at the moment, McLaren and Taggart. I would think maybe Apostolos-Giannou, who actually played pretty well at the Asian Cup, is someone who can come through. Nikita Rukovic is another one who's scoring a lot of goals in Israel, who you wouldn't discard just yet. And then there's also the chance of playing one of the midfielders through there, be it Matty Leckie or Martin Boyle. In that
I was about to say, at the moment, my shout's for Martin Boyle after what he played on the weekend.
But Boyle can play out wide as well, so you can still fit one of them around McLaren or Taggart. But those are options, and then even Tommy Rogic as a false nine, but I don't think that will happen. So he's got options there, but it's very hard to know who's going to be that player right now. If you're going to pick a true striker, I mean, probably McLaren at the moment. He's probably just the best finisher we've got, so you'd probably go for him. But, it's a very even call between him and Adam Taggart. That'll play out over time. He has got options, but there isn't that one Timmy Cahill type, Mark Viduka type, Harry Keel type. I can play him there in a World Cup game, and I'm confident he can score a goal. We don't have that yet, and that's obviously a big concern, and we haven't had that for a while. Yeah,
it's going to be interesting, obviously. I think, but you and I were only talking about this the other day, Ben, obviously. I think it was to Adam Peacock, obviously, about the Socceroos and what's to come, obviously, with everything going on. And I think the youngsters and stuff like that, and obviously a lot of the A League players at the moment are probably looking like getting probably, say, more of a chance. Obviously, just with obviously everything going on. And, I can't imagine, a lot of clubs over there wanting to send their players if they don't sort of have to and everything else. So we might see, obviously, a lot more crop of the A League talent pool. Obviously, going forward, the young bloke from Melbourne, Western United, at the moment.
Stamatolopoulos.
No.
Max Burgess.
Burgess.
Maxie. Yeah.
Yeah, obviously he's not young. 25, I think he is at the moment. But at the same time, he was brilliant. He's playing some good football. Even maybe like Izani hasn't really been mentioned anymore as well. He was meant to be obviously the next. U-Butte thing, but
he's got his move to Utrecht, and he seems to be performing well.
He needed to get out of Celtic, as far as I'm concerned. I think.
Oh yeah.
I think.
Yeah. I think that was a bit too much too quick.
Yeah, I think he left too soon, in my opinion, on that one. What do we got here? Where'd it go? I just seen it.
Lucky, my first pass was to Stan.
Okay. I think Bosnic's pretty.
Stan the man.
Well, I believe Bosnich wasn't letting go of the ball to take the penalty in one of those games. It's like, give me the ball, I'm taking the penalty. Bosnich taking penalties. I've seen everything. I've just lost it because everyone's now commenting. I think it was the most interesting place that you've been with the Socceroos.
Oh, well, I've been to many, but the two that stand out that won't be beaten easily are Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan. Just a world away from places that you live in. obviously in Australia and other parts of the world like London, just a complete world away and such a unique experience, and didn't really know what to expect. And these are countries that were part of the old USSR that have all been broken up, obviously, since they obviously emerged from the old system, and they just seemed like countries that were stuck in the 90s, if you like, because they were part of the old communist regime. They're just so far behind current day times, but that made it so brilliant and so beautiful because the people were just fantastic, and the experiences we had, like watching a game of dead goat polo, which is their local sport, just mind-boggling. And then the game, like watching Australia against them. I mean, the joy that these locals had, having Australia in their country, it was just infectious, and just love that. And you just see how powerful football is and how privileged we are to come from a country like Australia when you see how happy these kids and the locals were to have us there. You know, it's not something we should ever take for granted. So, yeah, I really enjoy those experiences. I've been to many places, all great, but those two, in terms of unique visits, stand out because I'll never go back there, let's be honest. No,
I'd agree with that. Obviously, the 2004...
I've got one here, mate, from Nico.
Oh, yes.
And it's a really interesting one. Garby, the worst and best away match in the Premier League.
The worst and best. The worst is easy because I went to an away
Manx
game.
Away?
No, I'll get to it. So the worst is an away game at Fulham because in the middle of winter, it is the coldest place on earth. When the wind whips off the Thames and then comes into that open stadium and you're standing in the away section in the middle of winter for a night game, I don't think I've ever been colder in my life. So that certainly stands out for me in terms of an away visit. But, you know, there's so many great ones. The best, was it the best home trip or the best away visit as well? What was the question again?
Best away visit as well.
Best away visit that I had. I remember going to... I mean, look, most of the time I sat in the media section, so it's a bit different. But I did go to a few away section games as a Liverpool fan. I remember going to Stamford Bridge when we knocked them off in the League Cup semi to make the League Cup final. And that was awesome. That was a great night. And, sitting with the Liverpool fans and enjoying that is something I'll cherish as well. So, I was lucky enough to get some tickets for away-end games, but, most of the time I was in the media area. But that didn't stop me, let me tell you, from soaking up the atmosphere and just quietly giving it to the away fans, even from the media section, if I could get away with it. If Liverpool, or the home fans, if Liverpool had managed to score.
Yeah.
So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Craven Cottage is the world, I was about to say hotspot, but cold spot.
I was going to say, Schwartz has sat there in goals for freaking God knows how long. Christ.
Oh, yeah.
Can you imagine just sitting around there doing nothing? Obviously, Nico's a massive, he's born and bred Geordie, so some of the craziest fans down there, obviously, at the Toon, so...
The Toon Army.
The Toon Army, so... thanks for the question, mate. Any more you got, whack him in there. I was talking about, obviously, what do you think... Obviously, Qatar 2022. Crazy times. Obviously, I believe it's going to be sort of into. They were talking about December, weren't they? I believe for the hosting it. Obviously, what do you think? How do you think we're going to shape up leading into it? Obviously, everything going on. Let's be honest. I don't think we've got the squad that we did even say 4 years ago. In my opinion, how do you think we're going to fare, obviously, through the qualifiers? A little bit more tougher than what previous years?
Oh, it's going to be very tough to qualify, of course. I mean, we've seen that now through the last World Cup. Remember, we had to go through 2 playoffs to make the last World Cup, so we got through by the skin of our teeth there. And look, there's going to be more teams for Qatar, so that should make it a bit easier. But, the other nations in Asia are improving rapidly, and we're dropping off. So it's going to be tough still. And then if we are lucky enough to get there, well, getting out of the group would be an achievement that's way beyond our expectations because, we don't have a crash shot squad at the moment and it's going to be tough. So, hopefully we'll see some big improvement under Graham Arnold in the next 2 years. But, it's going to be a very difficult thing to do. And the main problem is, as we discussed before, we don't have true out-and-out goal scorers and you need them to win your big games, of course. So that's going to be an issue for him to solve. But the World Cup in itself, I think, will be an interesting one, obviously controversial for obvious reasons. It's been much publicised, but I think once it all starts, it'll be fine. Qatar, I've been lucky enough to be there a couple of times for Socceroos games, and one of the benefits of it, and anyone who's ever been to a World Cup, I mean, travelling around is good fun, but it's also taxing. It's also tough getting around to different cities in a World Cup. And that's one of the things that, you enjoyed at the end, but doing it is a bit of a pain in the backside sometimes. Qatar, it's such a small place that getting around to games is actually going to be really easy. So I think the fans who do go will actually enjoy that side of things and just be a bit more relaxed and have a drink and enjoy yourself and just go to the games. Probably go to 2 or 3 games in a day. It's so everything will be so close together.
Yeah, right. There you go. Everyone start saving your pennies.
But take 2 or 3 games in a day. That's a footballer's that's a football fan's dream. That is
absolutely, mate. All for that. That's great. Jenwell's put in here. Other than Europe, what would be the ideal country for an Aussie to develop? Options between North America, South America, or Asia.
For an Aussie to develop outside of Europe, good question. Probably Japan. I think probably the J League right now. I mean, South America would be very difficult to adjust to culturally. The MLS in America would be nice, but is the standards high enough? It's getting there. I think if you had to pick a place outside of Europe, the J League would probably be it for an Australian to develop, no doubt, because the technical quality is so high. It's going to help your chances of making the Socceroos because it's Asia connected, and if you do well there, people respect the league enough that you get opportunities in Europe. So I'd say the J League would probably be the best place outside of Europe.
Yeah. So, and I suppose that's why a lot of A League players tend to, when they do make a transfer move recently, it's either to a Saudi Arabia or a J League or a K League. It's relatively close to home, so they're still in Graham Arnold's eyesight, and he doesn't have to worry about bringing players from further abroad into that Socceroo squad.
Let's be honest, the main reason they go to the Middle East and that is for the money. That's why they go there, and for a very good reason. But Japan's different. Japan is, they often go for the football and to really, grow as footballers as well. So that's a big reason for that. Yeah,
obviously. What's your thoughts? Obviously, we've seen Moy go over, leave England. I believe Matty Ryan's obviously the only Aussie left there at the moment. Do you feel that obviously we need to see more sort of players getting to England? Obviously, I know Janwell obviously sort of ruled it out of Europe, but in my opinion, I suppose getting to places like that isn't a bad thing. I think obviously the development and obviously the training is obviously again world class for me. What are your thoughts? Obviously, you've been around the media and stuff over there. Obviously, I'm sure you've been to training pitches and obviously stuff like that. What's it like? Is it in compared to say the A League? Completely different.
In China?
No, in Europe. So in England and stuff like that. So if you go, it varies from club to club. Obviously, there's some that are well set up that are professional outfits. But I've been to clubs that are League One and so on, where it's really primitive. I remember going to see Maslawongo and interview him the day he got his Socceroos call up for the first time, and they gave us Wellington boots to get out to the training ground. Because the mud was, would have reached up to our knees basically, and that's why I admire what Harry Keel's done, because he's really gone down to the basement level in order to make it as a coach. And someone of his stature, with, just be honest, enough money that he doesn't have to worry about things like that. It's just an amazing effort, I think, to really push it as a coach. So. Yeah, every club's different, but those Premier League clubs are amazing setups. Those training grounds, and they're just unbelievable. The amount of pitches, the quality of the pitches, the setups, just brilliant. And, even a club like West Brom, for example, where I've been to see Jason Davidson train, just a fantastic place to go about your work. So, yeah, we'd love to see more Aussies there, of course, but it's just much harder nowadays. And obviously we don't have the same quality coming through. Yeah, well, that's exactly it. Aiden's got one.
Our youth facilities are pretty well top-notch too for a championship club.
They got to be these days, I suppose. It's just, it's one of those things. If you've got the money, that's probably one of the first things that they obviously try and pump in there. What have we got? Aiden's putting here thoughts on Tim Cahill and how he's been offered to promote Qatar.
I don't really know too much about that, to be honest. I can understand the controversy surrounding it because of the human rights issues and, the way in which they got the World Cup and the fact that Australia obviously went for that World Cup and didn't get it, and there's lots of speculation as to why that didn't happen. So I can understand the questions being asked of it. Those are more than justified. But Tim's not the only ambassador for Qatar. They've got plenty of footballers on their books, plenty of big names. So, But yeah, the people who question him for that, I think, there's some validity there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, we'll talk a little bit about the A League in general. Obviously, it's changed so much. Obviously, I'm sure since you obviously joined Fox Sports and developed obviously for the better in ways, but obviously now with obviously everything that's going on, and let's be honest, obviously even today, I think Steve Taylor obviously has left Wellington. I believe
who was the other one?
Who was the other one?
Gary Hooper.
Gary Hooper was left as well, didn't he? Yeah. Do you think we're gonna probably see more of that in the coming months?
Without a doubt. Yeah. Without a doubt. I think it's pretty grim at the moment. I mean, the foreigners that are leaving are concerning. We're not going to be able to replace them with the same level at the moment because of the financial difficulties, obviously. And it's not so much the foreigners. I just think the Aussie players that are going, like some Mitch Duke and Dimi Petratos and others like that. And then the young players are going to take little, offers from elsewhere as well. You've got to worry about the standard of the competition. The silver lining there, yes, is that young players are going to come through and get more opportunities. That's great.
Yeah.
But those players will get the chances anyway. And we do have to worry about the standard of the league. We do have to worry about the sex appeal of the product because, we want the deal the league to have a good broadcast deal, of course. Yeah. And without that, we get into a very tricky financial position. And yeah, I'm really concerned about the future of the A League. You have to be. That's the reality right now. There's 1 year left on a broadcast deal, and what happens after that, it's hard to know. And when you look at it now and the pay deal the players are being asked to accept, which is not flash, and then the foreigners that are leaving and the players that are taking up other options, it's going to be very hard to generate excitement around the competition. And I hope the owners have got a plan because as it stands right now, a lot of people in the game are deeply concerned about the future of the league.
Yeah, and I suppose it's well within their right. Obviously, as I said, they're looking at obviously the cap's obviously going to be cut. I think they were talking around the $1.5 million, roughly around that sort of figure, and which obviously isn't ideal. We've had obviously we had Laurie on the other week. We've had coaches and everything else on, and same thing. Obviously, if they've got a family, if these international players have got families and everything else, chances of them coming over here and getting them here is going to be hard enough as it is, and the ones that are here now obviously are going to be looking at going home just because of what's going on, and it's as you said, it's scary to think. And as you said, we've got 1 year deal, 1 year left obviously in the deal and of broadcasting, but even if that happens, even if we get the 1 year out of them, it's going to be interesting. But where does it go? Where do you Optus Sports or I don't even think they'd come in with an offer, No,
well, it doesn't really make business sense for them in terms of the A League. I mean, if they get it for a cheap price, then maybe. But they don't seem to be interested in paying a lot for it. Fox certainly won't be looking to pay much money for it. And Fox could keep it, but they'd want to do so at a heavily reduced price. And then from there, who knows? I mean, yes, they can look into setting up their own service, FFA TV or whatnot, but that costs a lot of money to set up, a fortune. Yeah. And to run, and you need a lot of subscriptions for that. So, right now, as it stands, it doesn't seem like the financial position is going to be anywhere near where it is right now, and that's worrying.
Yeah, it's almost like we've taken 15 years to get to this point. We've done all the right things, right things in a roundabout way to get the league to where it is now, and steadily increase that salary cap, and it's all just been slashed down in 3 months worth of trouble.
Yeah, but they've made too many mistakes as well. I mean, unfortunately, the lower level sports in this country, outside of the AFL, the NRL, and cricket, the three big codes in the country, they just can't afford to make mistakes. Look at the NBL, look at rugby union, and obviously football. They've all made little errors over the journey when they were in strong positions, and they've come back tenfold as a result. And unfortunately, they just can't afford to do that. We don't have the population size to allow us to make those mistakes. And that's the big concern right now for football is rectifying that. And they've made errors, getting caught up in political battles and things like that. And just a lot of football shooting itself in the foot, which has just been really concerning. So, I hope they can rectify it, but obviously there's not much confidence.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Obviously, Ben and I have been lucky enough to interview a few of the girls over the last couple of months, obviously, when sitting around sort of doing nothing, and just been gobsmacked by, obviously, just talking to a couple of the girls, obviously, who love the sport and want to play. Want to play here. I mean, they don't, as they've said, they don't want to travel if they don't have to. They've all got families. They're still studying and everything else. But even
a lot of them still have full-time jobs.
Well, that's it. A lot of them are still working full time. But just 4-month contracts. You know what I mean? Like me and Ben nearly fell off a chair when who told us that?
Tara Andrews.
Tara Andrews, yeah, we're talking Tara, yeah, and she was saying that that's it. We've only got 4-month contracts. It's sort of starts at pre-season or whatever it is, and the day after the grand final, that's it. And because
it's always worded in the media that it's X player has signed on for this season, but then you actually break it down into how many months it is, and you actually you do the math and stuff, and actually the light bulb flicks on in the back of your head where you turns around and goes, well, hang on, yeah, okay, they've signed for 1 season, but the season's not very long. It's only 4 months. That's like less than half a year.
Yeah, I think for me that's one thing that definitely needs to change. Obviously, we've got the World Cup for the Matildas, which obviously you would hope helps massively, obviously, in bringing countries over to watch and obviously play in and everything else. But let's be honest, it's definitely for me not one of the places where people are going to want to come, especially for sort of short-term contracts. Maybe a summer deal from America like we've seen, but again, the money factor for me comes in. What do you think? What do you think's going to happen moving forward with the women's game?
Oh, it's a big issue here because it's great that our players are going over to Europe and getting those offers. That's fantastic, but obviously the W League suffers. So, look, I think the women's game will be fine because there's so much momentum around it as a whole that the World Cup is going to be just fantastic, and so many young girls are going to be keen to getting involved in women's football that they'll go and watch the W League and get involved because it's just a good vibe around it. So they'll be okay, but it's a shame that we're not going to have top talent running around in the league. It makes it difficult from a media point of view, but ultimately the next 3 years are going to be fantastic, and everything the Matildas do is going to be exciting, and hopefully they can finish that off and cap that off with either a medal at the Olympics, which would be great, or a big achievement at the World Cup on home soil, which we can't wait for.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, so the girls obviously have gone over to Europe, doing it great. I watched Chelsea play yesterday. I think it was 9-0. I think it ended up. It's good to see Sam Kerr score the winner. Final goal. Popped up when she was needed, just to finish them off. But again, it's good to see. Obviously, it's good to see that we've got some decent talent, obviously, in the Matildas, and it's looking strong coming up to the World Cup, which hopefully we'll do well in. What do we got here?
Channel 7, save the A League or Fox. Nah, I don't think it's going to end up going to free to air. They're not going to pay. They're not going to want to pay as much for it.
There's no
They're
way.
going to want to pay. They're going to want to pay even less than what a Fox or an Optus Sports or something will want to pay for it.
Yeah, no, I can't see it going to free to air. Delbridge has interest from Bangladesh. Well, that'll do me. Good luck.
That's interesting.
Good luck to him. But who plays in the Bangladesh league? I couldn't even tell you. So, good luck to him. Garby, do you know?
No, so I can't imagine Harrison
over.
Delbridge, a player of such talent, will consider going to Bangladesh. So,
sure.
I'll put a line through that one unless he wants to kill his football career completely.
Yep. Alrighty, with COVID being as bad as it has been, do you think this will have a long-term effect on the FFA Cup?
No, not long term. I think the FFA Cup is critical for the game moving forward. No, I think that would be a ridiculous decision if they were to scrap the FFA Cup or take it away even next year. I mean, we didn't finish it off this season, remember? So that was hugely disappointing. Now, the Cups, a lot of people talk about the lack of connection between the grassroots level and the top brass in football and the need for a second division, which I concur, it's important. But the FFA Cup has also been doing that. That's been a great initiative of the FFA. And let's not forget how brilliant a competition that's been and how much joy it's given us. So, bring that back as soon as we can from the start of the upcoming season. In fact, I think qualifiers may have already started. So, I don't see any issues with that moving forward.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Genwell's
Love a good FFA Cup match.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. There's nothing better than watching, obviously, the lower leagues and stuff like that. Obviously, beat Central Coast. It's great.
Yeah, there's nothing better than watching Liam Boland score an absolute banger for Green Gully against against the Coast, and then their manager gets sacked the next day. Well, we get to stand there. Fox pick us out for being the only Jet supporters in the crowd because we're wearing Jet shirts.
You gotta kid them while they're down, I suppose. What have we got here? General's put in here. I know it's ambitious, but what about a Brazilian league system for A League? Whole year period, but quick changeovers. I have no idea on the concept of the Brazilian.
I think it's more a league that runs calendar year, not if that makes any sense. So it runs from a January to a December instead of a mid-year break as we do at the moment.
Thoughts on that, Garb? If you're in Brazil,
yeah, I mean, I don't think we got the finances to operate something like that. Unfortunately, let's bring some Brazilian talents over by all means. Let's go there for holidays and enjoy World Cups there in Brazilian football. But we don't have the finances to run a full year-round competition. Unfortunately, let's try and just rectify what we've got for the moment.
Absolutely.
We might be able to string the boots back on Roberto Carlos for a 10-game stint. I'd still see it even at his age now.
Why not? You see him in those bloody charity matches and everything else, and was it like Arsene Wenger? Wasn't that long ago he bloody strapped the boots on, so why not? Yeah. Why not, I suppose. We're going to start wrapping up chat, so if you've got any final questions in there as well, that'd be great. I was going to say to you, obviously, you've obviously had some memorable times, obviously at Fox. Obviously doesn't have to be football related. Obviously, you said you've done the Ashes and everything else. What's probably the three things that stand out for you? Like, memorable moments. Obviously, we spoke about the Leicester one. But is there anything else sports related?
I mean, obviously, there's so many. I mean, the Ashes were great experiences. Love them. I mean, covered a couple of British Opens. They were wonderful as well, and you can't beat the World Cups. I mean, the World Cups, covering the Socceroos at the World Cup is just awesome. Just every single day is full of energy and excitement. So, they're World Cups, Premier League seasons, and probably the Ashes will be the top three things that I was able to cover. Just amazing experiences all the way through. So, Excuse me, boys.
No, you're right.
It was no, it's not COVID. I promise you.
I was about to say COVID,
but it's just great. All great memories all the way through. Very, very lucky.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, I suppose the other question, obviously, you've obviously finished up with Fox. What's next for you, mate? What are your plans? Obviously, you got the podcast running at the moment. If you haven't seen that, be sure to go check it out. There was an interview the other week or last month, I think it was, with Jamie Carragher, which I thoroughly enjoyed. Absolute champion bloke. But obviously there's a few others in there. What's in the future for you, mate?
So I'm just freelance at the moment. The podcast is going well, and I've got a few other gigs on the side. I'm doing some stuff with Betfair, football related, which has been really enjoyable with them. Nice connection doing their football analysis for them. So that's been great, and I've got a few other contracts, which is enjoyable. So just freelance at the moment and doing that and happy with it. But the podcast is going well. So Brace with Garby on all your podcast network. Have a listen to it. And Jamie Carragher's great. There's a few other Australian football legends. Brett Holman and Mila Jedinak have both been good enough to join me on the pod, and there'll be more to come. And other sporting greats as well that I'm sure people will enjoy listening to. Some really fun stories. So tune in. I'm sure you'll like it.
No, absolutely. Yeah, so guys, be sure go check it out. I'm listening to it at the moment on Spotify, so obviously it's pretty much everywhere these days with a podcast. So, any final ones there? Thoughts on MacArthur?
I think they'll be pretty good on the field. Yeah, I mean, Ante Milicic is a coach who's ready to step into the A League, and they've signed pretty well with the likes of Adam Federici in goals. Can't wait to see him in the competition and a few others. They got some concerns, let's be honest. Some of their off-field dealings have been pretty controversial, considering they've only been in the league or haven't even been in the league whereby they kicked a ball in anger yet, and yet some of the off-field ructions are, less than desirable. Let's put it that way. So that's a worry. But it'd be nice to have another team in and to have an even competition. And I think they've got a nice stadium and a nice supporter base. and some of their work off field has been pretty good as well. So, yeah, looking forward to them coming in. Let's be honest, that'll be a big talking point going into the new season from a positive point of view amid a lot of negativity.
Yeah, no, it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Your thoughts on the next team that should be coming into the A League? Obviously, there's been so much talk with your Canberras and obviously the Wollongong obviously having a bid as well, and even another team over in Perth maybe. What are your thoughts in extending?
Well, the Canberra bid has been an impressive one, so they should look into that in great detail. I think Tasmania had some potential pluses to it, but that didn't happen, and now the NBL's got the jump on the A League. So, whether that is the way to go in the future, I don't know, but maybe they should still look at that one. But Canberra looks like it's leading the way, certainly, and they should probably look at moving that forward. But let's be honest, before we expand the league, we need to get the league right, and we need to shore up the finances, because there's no point bringing in a new team right now if they haven't got the finances to run the competition at a level that we like. So sort that out first, and then let's go with the expansion. But Canberra's making the most noise at the moment, and for good reason.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a must happen. Ben and I have spoken to it on so many different levels. Obviously, between the AIS and obviously the fact that they've already got a girls' side, and obviously the youth system and everything else there. For me, it's the no-brainer. It has to happen, and I believe it should have happened before MacArthur and Western United, but I suppose it is what it is, and hopefully they'll get there eventually. Julian, how are you, mate? Obviously, massive Liverpool fan. Yeah, he's part of the Newcastle Jets Liverpool supporter base, official supporter base down there now, which is great. He said, "Welcome anytime. Come down and party with the lads."
It would be great, thank you. Next time I'm in Newey and there's a game on, I might take you up on the offer.
Absolutely, yeah. We'll touch base, and obviously we always do, the fundraiser sort of stuff, and get you down for a night, and obviously watch the footy. Watch the footy, it'd be great. What have we got? Final ones.
Get your final ones in, lads.
Quick.
Are you missing Simon Hill and commentating with him and everything that he did? Do you have any funny stories about him?
So I miss the podcast we did on a Monday for sure. That was great.
Podcast.
Always enjoyed that. Some spirited discussion and just pure football. So really enjoyed that. I do have a funny Simon story. So everyone knows he's a big Man City fan. So that first season when Man City won the league, so they played United where they won, and then that took them to the top of the table. Then they had 2 games left. They had to beat Newcastle away to stay on top before they had that QPR game. And Newcastle away, Simon was there with me. We were both in the media area, and the media section is very open. I mean, the fans can all see you, and they're not far away from you. And Simon said to me, mate, if Newcastle score, because it was 0-0 at half time, so it's getting pretty tense, and he's obviously very worked up, as you can imagine. And he just said to me, mate, if we score, I'm not going to be able to control myself, so you've got to hold me down, or else the locals are going to, really go for me, because the fans can all see you in the media section. So I said, all right. And then Yaya Touré's finally scored the breakthrough goal in about the 80th minute or something, and he just leapt to basically celebrate, and I'm holding his arm down, saying, Simon, stay down, pinning his arms to the media desk, and eventually he came to grips with it and relaxed and said, thank you, mate, thank you, because there was no controlling my body, and the locals would have just gone for me. So, that's one moment that certainly stands out. And obviously some others that I can't repeat, but that's the stories on the road that stay on the road.
Absolutely. I think I've got one there. Talking about World Cups, obviously, we can't go past, obviously, Les Murray, absolute legend. I know you obviously wouldn't have worked with him, I don't think, obviously, on a major level, unless you did, obviously, not that I know, but did you get any time with him, obviously, at those World Cups?
No, I never had any personal interaction with Les, unfortunately, but I did share the story last week on Twitter because I was on the World Game show, and Les did call my name out for winning the NSL Goal of the Week competition in about 1995 or something, and I won an old Panasonic camcorder on the Monday night Toyota World Sports Show. So that's the one connection I've got with Les, which is a memorable one.
Oh, I reckon that was the show my old man used to sit me down with, the old highlights show.
Oh, mate, yeah, absolutely. It's nothing better.
I remember those nights.
Absolutely. It's probably it was the best thing we could get back then, obviously, as a young kid.
Yeah.
Didn't really
you
get
got an hour on a Monday night on SBS, and that was it.
Yeah. No, exactly it. Not too easy, mate. Well, I think we're going to leave it there. There's no real more questions coming in. We do thank you, mate, for jumping on and obviously having a bit of a chat. Hope obviously everything goes well, as you said, with the podcast. Hope you get back into the full swing of things sooner rather than later. Maybe Optus Sports or something, mate. Take you on. But yeah,
we'll wait and see. Thanks, boys. Appreciate you having me.
It's too easy, guys.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, as I said, once again, guys, be sure jump on Spotify and all, obviously everywhere you can find a podcast. Go check the podcast out. There's obviously some absolute Australian legends and obviously internationals as well, like your Jamie Carragers and so forth. Yeah, and we'll speak to you soon, mate. Anyway, take it easy.
Thanks, boys. Appreciate it.
You have a good night.
You too.
See you, mate. No worries, guys. Well, there we are. Friggin' Daniel Garb, we thank him very much for jumping on to the podcast. It's muchly appreciated. Interesting, obviously, insight to, obviously, his time, obviously, with the World Cup. His thoughts on the Socceroos. Yeah. His thoughts, obviously, on the Socceroos, and obviously, in probably the same sort of way as what we are concerned, obviously. Moving forward, you know what I mean? Like, obviously you get some reporters and that, they're not going to really say that, we've got faith, we're good, we'll be right, we'll find the depth, happy days. But at the end of the day, it's a scary thought to think. I believe there was a young bloke over in Scotland, I can't remember his name at the moment, but...
Which young bloke in Scotland?
Was he in Scotland or is it... No, he was in, pardon me. No, he was in Scotland.
Aussie player.
Oh, well, no, he had the choice to choose between Scotland and friggin' Thingo, and he represented... No, Wales, I think it was. Wales, Scotland, I can't remember. Rattling off now. But he chose the other side. He didn't come to Australia. He had the opportunity.
Oh, yeah, that was the recent one.
Yeah, Dykes or something like that.
Dykes. Yeah,
Dykes, yeah. Again, when we sort of letting those sort of people go, where we should be friggin' absolutely hammering to lock them down, it's sort of worrying.
The only way to do that is to get them in earlier.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Get them in at a younger level.
Jamie, how are you, mate? Welcome to everyone again. Lockie, unfortunately, that's the highest guest I can get. But how good is it? Big thanks to Locke, obviously. Obviously struck up a massive bond there. Obviously, Garby at the time, and obviously that was the highest bloke he'd interviewed, and the highlight of his interviewing at Fox Sports. Good on you. Nearly choked on my chip, Lock. Thanks for that. But yeah, look,
I got a nice warm pizza sitting here.
Oh, very good. But yeah, look, it's going to be interesting, obviously, to see what's next for the Socceroos. Obviously, with everything going on in the A League, with everything going on, I suppose everywhere. It's going to be a shit fight.
Yeah, and it's not just the A League that's going to be suffering from problems like this. It's going to be every domestic league everywhere. I mean, there's going to be other leagues across the world, especially in Asia as well, and South America. You feel that those are going to be the leagues that are going to be the most hard hit financially from the pandemic.
Yeah.
Which again is going to probably stifle and cut off youth development for those sort of nations that, your Panamas and that are just like teetering on the edge of making World Cups. That one, not even 1 year yet of, the pandemic and those financial restrictions and all that, that's going to affect youth development across those harder hit leagues dramatically for longer than the year that it's been off for. Like, this is things that can affect them for, 10, 15 years.
Yeah, it's going to be cardiac everywhere. I think we're going to see, obviously, in the leagues as well, a lot of coaches really, really fighting to keep their players where they are. And that's not just a Socceroos thing. I think that's internationals at every level. they don't want them travelling anywhere, because if they travel somewhere, and then obviously that means that friggin' when they get back, if something happens, then they got to quarantine, la-di-da. It's just a lot of risk for, a friendly or a, again, it's a World Cup qualifier and everything else, but at the same time, I suppose at the end of the day, they don't care. And I think it's a good thing. I think a lot of clubs need to start standing up a little bit more in regards to that. Obviously, we've seen a lot of clubs obviously be angry about it, but then obviously just, there's nothing they can do. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
They're gonna go. Obviously, bugger that. I'm representing my country. See ya. But obviously, for the likes of Matty Ryan and stuff like that, I think he needs to probably stay where he is at the moment. I don't think he needs to be travelling all around the world or wherever it is to play games.
I don't know if he will.
Yeah, look. I think hopefully he doesn't, because I think
he's pretty happy.
I think he needs to probably just stay there and just be going right. At the end of the day, let's be honest. Who is there to compete with him? Let's be honest. There's obviously, you've got your fringe keepers, obviously, but at the same time, obviously you've got what's his name for Sydney FC.
You're talking domestically?
No, anywhere. Obviously, you've got your Langarax and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, he's not performing that crash hard. He's, what I mean. I think it's going to be England playing New Zealand in a friendly at Wembley soon. Well, there you go. That's interesting.
News?
Huh?
That's news for me.
Yeah, interesting news. But yeah, good on them. Good on them. At the end of the day, the fact that they're actually going to England, considering I can't imagine them having too many players playing over there in England. That's an interesting one for me. And considering obviously 90% of their squad friggin' plays at Wellington, so
yeah.
Interesting. But yeah, look, as I said, guys, we're gonna wrap it up. Oh, far out. It's not going to be a 30-minute wrap up like they usually are. I'm gonna try and.
Nah, not tonight.
Did you see my last comment? Oh, sorry, mate.
Jamie.
Leeds had a good fight against Liverpool. Yeah. Yeah, we were talking about it. Go on, you Reds. Nah, look. We spoke about it. It's one of those things. Good on Leeds.
Amazing, Luke.
Oh, yeah. We'll get there, Luke. Hang on. Yeah, look. We spoke about it at the start of the show. Leeds are not going to be a side to be reckoned with, right, in the first 12 weeks. I think if you get Leeds in the first 12 weeks, you are going to be in for a world of trouble. When they start to pick up injuries and the body starts to friggin' get into that... Again, this is not playing in the championship. It is a completely different standard. It's the same sort of flow in football, but it's the standard. The players, the quality, pardon me, is completely different. So you've got your players like your Agueros, like your bloody Van Dijks, when he's on a good day, and stuff like that, who will just make you run. They will run you for 90 minutes. They will sit there and they will play simple balls, back and forth. It's not the most attractive football, but for 60 minutes, you guys are going to be... Teams like that are coming in, and obviously at the lower leagues, are going to be busting their knacker to get the ball, and come 60 minutes to 90 minutes, they're going to be stuffed.
Yep.
And obviously the teams like your Cities and your Uniteds and stuff like that, and your Liverpools and that, they're just going to run over the top of them. We've seen it with Norwich. Norwich came into last season firing, and they proved it. Pookie came in with a point to prove. He was leading goal scorer or whatever down in the championship, and there was good reason for it. Obviously, he started the season so strong. He put two past us and everything else as well. And obviously, again, the wheels fell off. Now, I think that's what will happen with Leeds. Not to that extent. I think Leeds will finish mid-table. I'd be pretty worried if they finish lower than that. But I think West Brom will go down. I think they'll struggle to stay up. And again, probably a game with Fulham. At the end of the day, I think it's one of those things where it's all about the spend. It's all about the spend and how much you spend, and it doesn't. I'm not talking big money here. I'm not talking millions and millions of dollars.
I think it's more a case of smart buying instead of price tag buying. Look at Fulham.
No. I'm not talking about
110 million last time they were up, and they went straight back down.
Yeah. So I'm not talking about like that price tag, but I mean like it's the spend. As in, it's all about the spend. And it doesn't matter whether you spend friggin' $25 or you spend $25 million.
To be fair, they're still getting parachute payments from that drop too.
They are.
Whilst they're in the Prem.
Correct.
So they're getting their Prem and whatever they get for being in the Prem, but they're also getting the massive parachute payments.
Absolutely. See you, Jamie, mate. Yeah, absolutely. That's for you, Luke. Mate, superb. If you haven't been able to check out Luke Sports Gaming's podcast. He's so used to saying
I'm on it, mate. I'm on it.
Luke Sports Gaming, obviously, on the Twitch side. Be sure.
Give the lad a follow.
Go over, give him a follow.
He's a massive supporter of both Josh and I on Twitch and YouTube. Mods in both our channels.
And the Jets. Loves the Jets, obviously. Yeah, be sure.
Jets career mode.
Go give it a follow. If he hasn't hit 50 yet, he's got to be getting close now. So give him a follow.
I'm pretty sure he's close.
Yes, check out Lukey boy. Absolutely.
Shut up, Aiden.
Aiden? I do Knights. Right, yeah, okay.
Shut up, Aiden.
48. There we go. He's itching. Two boys, get over there.
Get him to the 50, lads.
Get him to the 50. Happy days. In saying that, before we do go, as I said, if I'm sure everyone has noticed, it's like the elephant in the room. I am wearing a pair of glasses. No, I don't need them. My eyesight is fine, thanks to Gabriel, my optometrist, for telling me so. Or for Gabe, not Lockie, for telling me so, that my eyesight's perfectly fine. So, Luke, stick that up, yeah? So there's nothing wrong with it, but the blue lights, obviously in the glasses.
Right there, Luke.
Oh.
My house is Chewy, and I'm like, it's right there.
Chewies. But yeah, as I said, be sure, obviously, if he's into the whole streaming thing, playing the PlayStation, PC, even watching TV as well, obviously, it just takes a lot of, again, we might get Lockie on, obviously, to talk a little bit about it at some point, just to get a full in-depth, obviously, of what it actually does, but that's pretty much the basic of it. It takes a lot of the strain off your eyes, with obviously all the pixels and all the shit, and obviously that you get.
The amount I sit in front of a computer screen.
And for someone like Ben, and obviously
even I'm getting a set.
Whoever, spends a lot of time in it, whether it's work shit. I spend more time at work in front of a PC than what I do at home.
Yeah. It's also the fact as well that to get the podcast done or to even stream like this, I've got 3 massive monitors sitting in front of me, but 2 very bright LED lights here that are right in my face too.
Correct. And that's the thing. There's
so that you can see this.
Yeah, get around all of that, guys. Same thing. I've got 2 lights either side of me as well, and it's a lot of shit that we don't need. And
it's strange.
At the end of the day, who wants to be friggin' wearing actual glasses because you literally can't see? Nobody. So, but yeah, as I said, I was talking to Lockie. We do have a special deal on with these, and this
specs in the chat.
Exclamation mark specs in the chat. There it is there, up on the screen. So pretty well, the glass is there. There's a couple of frames that you guys get to choose from. I believe the ones I'm wearing now are at the top. But there are a couple of choices in there. Obviously, $99 for the Crossbar Capers, Smashing Crossbar Podcast. Fans out there, roughly retailing for around $200. So you pretty well get $100 off. Look, guys, they're worth it. At the end of the day, there's nothing worse than friggin' being blind. So, to prevent any of that shit, it is a good thing to do. Lockie's put something in there. There we go. Ben
summed it up very.
Yeah, exactly right. Blue light is basically stopping the bad light rays against screens, just like wearing. Stop adding shit, Lockie. I'm trying to read it. Rays against screens, just like wearing sunglasses against the sun. Same with screens for indoors. Ask for Lockie to get the deal. There you go. Go see Lockie, Gabriel, my optometrist at Jesmond. And as I said, for $100, as I said, they're worth it. If you've got a health fund, costs you nothing. Pretty well. So you probably get 2 pairs. So get you. I could bring a mate.
Buy one get one free. No, I didn't say that.
No, tell old mate.
Done for false advertising.
Exactly. Tell old mate to give you the $100 and then freaking just keep it and then freaking get the 2 on your freaking healthcare card. You get about $200. Just trying to help someone out.
There you go. You don't even need a script for him either.
No, that's the thing. If you don't as I said, you're paying for the sort of lens. It's pretty much all it is. But yeah, as I said, it's well worth the investment for $100. Shit. Yeah, as I said, all about protecting your eyes. And
Shut up, Aiden.
As Ben said, the amount of time that he spends in front of his computer screen, and I'm sure everyone else does, whether they're sitting in bed, watching TV, watching the footy, watching whatever, well worth just whacking them on.
A lot of modern smartphones come in built with blue light sensors, blue light filters nowadays as well.
Yeah, correct. Absolutely. So, and at the end of the day, I'm looking through these at the screen and there is no different, other than the fact, like if I put them down and put them up, you can easily tell the difference. It's nice, sharp, crisp, clear.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all it is, and it protects your eyes, so why not? Other than that, yeah, be sure to go check Lockie out down there for anything else as well. Anything else that you need, whether it be sunnies or whatever. My Makos should be on the way. Lockie, hurry up. I need a third pair. You know, I've got two, but I need another one. Anyway,
why do you need another pair for? It's not like we're allowed outside.
Why not?
It's not like we can go outside at the moment.
Absolutely. Anyway, guys, we are going to leave it there. We will speak to you guys soon. We will have another podcast eventually, hopefully this week. I'm just trying to work out, obviously, the time and obviously working the time slots and everything else with Ben and all that sort of stuff. Be sure to go check out Ben, obviously at Corner Flag Games as well. Obviously, all the FIFA stuff and everything else. If you love someone raging and shit at a screen, it's great. It'll be even better when he gets the freaking glasses on. You look like a professor.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've noticed as well on the bottom of my good monitor, there's 2 marks on it that I need to clean off from the last 2 times I've thrown a controller at it.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
There you go. The rage is real, ladies and gents.
Absolutely. We thank everyone for jumping in, as always. Thanks to everyone else who's been new tonight. Thanks to Garby for jumping on. Be sure to go check out us on YouTube, or Twitch, obviously, if I'm for the gaming side of things, where I play a bit of Call of Duty and a little bit of FIFA. Be sure to jump on Facebook page, give it a follow, give it a like. Same with the YouTube side. You can find us on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, I think it is.
Yeah, it's Apple Podcasts, not
Apple
iTunes.
Podcasts. Yeah.
So you can get it on Anchor, you can get it on Spotify, and you can get it on Apple Podcasts. We're still waiting for Google to pass through our clearance because they're slow as shite.
That is what it is. Thanks, Jeff, mate, for jumping in once again. Yeah, look, we'll hopefully have more guests on. At the end of the day, there's plenty of shit going on around at the moment between players and friggin' football in general. Enjoy your football wherever you are. Obviously, if you hope your team gets up next week. Luke, United, mate, it's all right. If they don't get up, you can go to the zoo, yell at the zebras, and tell your frustration. Just yell abuse at the zebras, mate. Anyway, guys, we'll leave it there. Thanks again for watching. Thanks to Garby, as I said. Thanks to everyone. Lockie as well, mate. Major sponsors, Gabriel Mark. Go check them out. Get your deals. We'll catch you guys later. Till next time, as always, everyone in the chat, hashtag it. Didn't work. There it is. Obviously, I pressed them a little bit too soft. Anyway, guys, we'll catch you later. Take it easy. Ciao.